Hi everyone, welcome to Show It Better. In today's video, we are going to learn how to make this awesome section in Photoshop using SketchUp and V-Ray. So let's get to it. Okay, so the model that we are using for this image was a model done by me and by some other colleagues that we participated in a competition a few years ago in a university project. We didn't do so well, but well, I have the model, so that's good. And we're going to create a section, and I'm going to do this with a section plane tool. And I'm just going to find the perfect section where we have a lot of interesting things happening, right? And you also want to do this in your buildings, right? You just don't want to make a plain section where you just see a bunch of slabs. You want to make a section that tells the story of the building. So for example, as you guys can see here, I have the access of the building we can also see the elevators and some different floor slabs, and the form of the building, the story that the building is trying to tell. So you guys can move the section as you please, and once you have the section, you want to align the view perfectly, right? So we want a front view section, and for some of you that are maybe older or have maybe an older version of V-Ray, when in the older versions of V-Ray, when you had a section and you tried to render it, it didn't render, right? Because it was just a function of SketchUp, and V-Ray didn't recognize that section as much, right? But now I think from V-Ray 3.4, once you have a section, the section acts as a mesh clipper for V-Ray. And so basically what it does is it renders the section as well. So you can also create a section with a mesh clipper, but the section, with the section tool is fine as well. So as you guys can see here, I'm rendering the section, and it's totally visible. So we're going to go to our render settings, and as you guys can see, we have the section option on. So you want to have that enabled. And I'm just going to, I already have my view adjusted, but you just want to make sure your view is in a perspective mode, and it has a very centered, symmetrical kind of view, right? So that's the most important thing. So as soon as you have this, we're going to render it, our image. Remember to have all the V-Ray options and all the settings in a very very high quality and very high output. And you also want to export some render elements like your render ID and your material ID. This is going to help us in Photoshop to make selections of maybe things we're going to need after much easier. And as soon as you have all of this, we are going to start rendering our image, right? Once your render is finished, you want to save all of your channels in a separate folder, in a folder, and you want to import them to Photoshop, right? So we're going to import the base render, and on top of that, you're going to import all the other settings and make sure they match and coincide with the base render. I also imported the line image just in case we need it, and it looks kind of interesting. So we're going to amplify our canvas a little bit so the image doesn't look so squished. So what I also want to do, and the first things I have in mind, is creating a selection of the whole section plane, right? So we can do this with our render ID, or you can do it manually as well with the lasso tool. I just want to color this layer section in a different color. Also, the edges of the image that don't really make up the section, I want to kind of fade them away, right? So I'm doing this with a layer mask. Remember, the layer masks are your friends. They are just so useful. And we're doing this with layer mask so the image doesn't get damaged. And we're going to start to play with the colors, right? Like this is our base, what we're going to try to work with. And here the colors are very, very important. So maybe out here I'm just working on, I just want to make some very monochromatic colors. But you also have to remember and take into account the colors of your plan, of your other renders, of everything that's going to go in your presentation board, because that's very important. So you can't have, like 3 different colors of what you would have in your whole presentation board, because it would look kind of funny and kind of like a whole clown, your whole presentation board. So you want it to look very according to the other images you're already doing. And as you guys can see here, these 2 elevator shafts are like the protagonist and things that draw the most attention. So I wanted to insert maybe another color for the windows. You can do this with a hue saturation tool, adjustment tool. Maybe change the colors of the windows a little bit to make them a little bit bluish. And this project is a university project, so this is supposed to be in art faculty. I didn't have a lot modeled, so they just look, like the floors look empty. But we wanted to have that university feel, right? So it's a little different colors, a lot of people. Also, we want to have that vibe. So as you guys can see here, I'm exploring with all the colors, and I'm still not finding the right color yet, but I think we're getting there. We're getting there. The section plane, I'm adding some levels to it, so you guys can just add some straight lines and some text. If you guys have seen my videos, I always insert some text in the end of all the sections, because I think that's very important, and to have images that are other than pretty, they're also very informative. So you want also to have informative images and text on your plans. And here I'm importing a grunge texture to see maybe if that's the problem, right? Maybe if the grunge texture looks a little bit interesting, but no, it doesn't look interesting. So I'm turning all the section plane back to white, and I'm, with an adjustment layer, with a color balance adjustment layer, I'm making everything more of a warmish color. So all the grays and the blues are going to go more to the warmer side, and I think that's the section that we want, because the elevator shafts were drawing a little bit too much attention. So I think with this, the whole section gets a lot of attention, and I think we're starting to get that feel of the section that I wanted. And I think it's time to import some people. So remember, we're in a university context, so we want a lot of people, maybe a lot of young people, a large groups of people. So I'm not going to invest a lot of time in this, but the basics of inserting people is just matching the shadows, matching the colors, and matching the context, right? So you don't want people in bikinis in your project. You want people that look like a university project, or people that would just go to visit the building, right, wearing according clothes. And what you basically do to create first the reflection is you just press Ctrl J on your people layer, and right click and press flip vertically, right? So that can be your reflection. And on the same person layer with a black 10% soft opacity brush, you're going to paint in the shadows, right? So that's the basics of this image. Just create the reflection and create the shadow. And as you guys can see here with the people imported, you know, all the section has a lot of life into it. And the last step I'm going to do is I'm going to paint some grass in you know, the roof of the whole building. So I'm going to do this with a grass brush. I think you guys have the grass brushes that I have been telling you about that are free, and you're just going to paint a soft, tall grass brush. And you're also going to import some people, just to let people know that, you know, on this building people can also go to, you know, to the roof of the building and have some nice time. It's going to be, you know, a very interesting building around that. And finally, we're going to put some text in our elevator, indicating the floors, like you would see in a basic university. And that is basically the result of this image. Okay, so I hope you guys liked this video. If you want to see more inside of this image, download the PSD file in the link down below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.